Joining us live from Doha now is CNN's senior international correspondent, Sam Kiley. Sam, thanks for your time again. What are your sources saying? What are CNN sources saying about how life is right now on the ground in Kabul and in Afghanistan as well?
Well, there remains large numbers of people who want to get out. The US State Department has admitted that the majority of the so-called special immigration visa holders didn't get out in spite of the international coalition, including Australian troops. And I saw them at Kabul airport myself, evacuating 124,000 people in the space of about 2 weeks. So a lot of people have been left behind. At the same time, Taliban have been celebrating their victory with a parade in Kandahar, the birthplace essentially of the whole movement, by parading MRAPs, those armoured cars, heavily armoured vehicles that they have captured from the Afghan National Army, even flying a captured Black Hawk helicopter over this parade. So trying to rub the noses of their enemies in their victory. And that, I'm afraid, like it or not, is what the Taliban have achieved. Their real problem is going to be how are they going to govern in the face of this success.
Sam, I was under the impression that all of the military hardware had been disabled by the Americans. Were they not able to disable all of it, or have members of the Taliban been clever enough to be able to get things going again?
No, the understanding is that they disabled, among other things, 73 aircraft at Kabul International Airfield. That's really what the Americans are saying they disabled. Right. What wasn't disabled was the vast amount of military equipment that was captured from the Afghan National Army, and that, of course, was largely donated or sold by the United States.
Yeah, gotcha. Now, a spokesperson from the Taliban, you might have heard just before we came to you, has mentioned that Australian troops died in vain. I mean, what do you make of that kind of language? Does it show that at all that the Taliban 2.0 has changed at all, or is this how we can expect things?
Well, I mean, I think it's exactly what you would expect the Taliban to say. They've been fighting a bitter and bloody war, using everything from terrorism to semi-conventional infantry attacks to, in their terms, liberate their country from an international coalition that numbered well over 100,000 troops at its height. So it's inevitable that the Taliban spokesman would say that these efforts have been in vain, not least because they are now back in power. In terms of how that gets interpreted in the future, I think that sort of language would probably be dialed down over the coming weeks as they increasingly try to reach out in terms of trade and aid, which is what they desperately need to get the wheels of the economy turning. You've got 500,000 people there, possibly on the move, internally displaced. 500,000 people, UN fear, may head to the borders. You've got many millions of children suffering from all sorts of levels of malnutrition and an economy on its knees. So they are, in general, trying to moderate their public language. And, of course, all eyes are on their actual behaviour, as the Prime Minister has said.
The word from the White House, as you know, yesterday, particularly from President Biden, mentioned that for those that do remain with links to the United States, the US will do everything it can to get them out. Are you that confident that it would be that simple?
It won't be simple. It's likely to be these issues are likely to be a matter of diplomatic horse trading here in Doha. The diplomats who've got good connections with the Taliban in terms of they know them very well, they know who to talk to, worked very hard indeed to get people out during the massive evacuation, and they're continuing to impress upon the Taliban that they need to cooperate. And indeed, Qataris are currently inspecting the airport, trying to work out how the airport can be got up and running. And of course, there's the opportunity for land crossings. The counter to that from the Taliban is that they will inevitably and are worried about a brain drain, if nothing else. It's a bad look for a new government to see the brightest and best educated of your people fleeing the country, and not least because you need their help to run the country. So that's going to be a conundrum. I think that there'll be a bit of horse trading over that, but they have committed, once again, they have publicly committed to allowing anybody with the right paperwork in there terms to leave the country. So it's going to be a very interesting and potentially nerve-wracking process over the next few years, days and weeks, rather, for those who are left behind.
OK. Live from Doha, CNN senior international correspondent Sam Kiley. Appreciate your time. Thank you, Sam.